Hey, welcome everyone. Episode 2 of the Prophecy podcast called Future Focus. This is Alex Matabosian with my partner David Ramanick. We're going to be talking a little bit about, abilities to forecast, predict future, kind of understand analytics in a different way, and kind of how we go about it as a company, but also how we add value and how you can do that yourself. So, Dave, I'm going to kick us off with an intro here as far as your 2 cents on our predictive nature, and more importantly, just how to be predictive in the market.
Yeah, thanks. This is an important one for us in particular. In my eyes, predictiveness is about risk a little bit. It's about what are you willing to accept and what are you willing to stake your name on. For us, it's everything. It's what we named our company. We know that puts a target on our back to say, "Hey, we're prophetic." It's slightly arrogant, but that probably fits us, so we're okay with that.
I don't know about arrogant. We're proud. We've done a lot with. We've analyzed a lot of what we've analyzed to get to this point. So I think it's like we've earned it. Hopefully it doesn't come off as arrogant. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but if it's doing these podcasts or if it's what we're selling to dealers, we don't put across anything that we haven't tested thoroughly. So vaporware is like not in our lexicon. For us, we have to really make sure that whatever we go out and talk to anyone about, that we've just thoroughly tested, that it's database, that it's data science based, that we have models for everything. And for us to really truly get any level of success, it comes with risk. And that's where the predictiveness comes in. And that's quite honestly what we feel separates us. You have to be able to tell someone what's coming. I'll be honest, I've left companies because they wouldn't put it out there as it relates to predicting this. All the data in the world and all the analysis of what's happened in the past, to me, that's old news. Like to tell someone that the weather was sunny 2 weeks ago, okay, great. I lived through that. I enjoyed that sun. Is it going to be sunny in 2 weeks, in 2 months, in 2 years? That's what I need to know because I have to plan my life around that. So if you're running a business and you have a partner that's supposed to help you run that business more successfully, don't you want to know if they're going to be able to tell you what moves you need to make today to make tomorrow a better day? That's what we're about. And that's where predictiveness comes into me. If we can take data and translate that into something meaningful that's going to improve your business, then we're really doing something. And quite honestly, we're doing something that maybe some others aren't. That's the starting point for me.
100%. And love that. It's hard to add a +1 to that. We've talked a lot about it. Dave has a lot of conversations with clients about it. It's interesting when you look at the landscape that we're in right now, and let's talk primarily automotive vertical. There's so much data out there now and so much of an understanding on how people shop and how they behave, yet we just haven't seen that pivot from advertisers out there. And when we say pivot, we're talking about smarter media buying. We're talking about spreading things out, being in more places than just a tactical place like Google. We're not knocking it. We use Google 35, 40%. We've talked about that already. But even in your own practices, it's so important that we start to get a good understanding about how to leverage the predictive nature of analytics. And there are some great tools that are available to us right now. And GA4 caused a lot of pain for us. I just posted about it not too long ago when it comes to more of the development side on what we had to do to get that done. But boy, oh boy, once you start becoming a little bit more predictive and using the tools that are in front of you, a lot of things make a lot of sense when you start to look at the cyclical nature of many businesses. Now, this would exclude e-commerce, household items, things that would be less than $100 where people just make a purchase decision and super fast. But most long tail purchase decision are going to go through these kind of ebb and flows. And yeah, I mean, we've learned a lot from it. We'd like to share what we've learned so that other people can kind of do the same thing and maybe collectively bring up the whole. But Dave, in your experiences, we've started looking at these ratios, the analytical ratios that we've put together. I mean, what was the biggest difference that you saw in your mind, both from your perspective and also from other clients? I mean, you talk to these people too. I mean, what are people saying?
I guess the first thing, and probably the most obvious, is the accuracy. We've had, we always like to joke. We tell people, hey, you're going to see between, 4 and 7 sales this weekend. And they come back the next week. They're like, yeah, we sold 6. Like, how did you guys know that? And, what are our lottery numbers? Because you guys are right every time. Like, we joke about it and we love to hear that. But that's the first thing. Like when people actually come back and say, "Wow, you guys are right on."
Yeah.
But we've really taken on a lot when you think about omni-channel. It's a little bit easier when you're only concentrating on a couple of different channels. But we're opening it up to all these different places you can go. But we have to, because that's where the customers are, and we talked about that in another recording. But when you start to look at all the different permutations of what could happen, and then you're taking into account economic factors and all the different things that we're trying to look at, there's a lot of different ways it can go. And it took us some time. We had to have a lot of data. We had to go back several years, and we had to figure out, how do we come up with a way to take all this into account, so it's not just like sort of a surface level analysis, and maybe we'll be right some of the times and maybe we won't. We're going for like all the time. We're trying to be right consistently. And that's what machine learning is, right? You take into all account everything you can, so your machine learns, so it gets smarter. And the steps it took to get the data, then to live through the learning phase until we started to see it come together. I mean, I vividly remember Alex calling me on a weekend and like at an odd time and saying, it clicked, and we're like virtually doing high fives, because I'm in Detroit and Alex is in LA. So we're never on the same time zone. So we're always bugging each other at weird hours. But that was like one of those moments that we kind of keep a little calendar that we jot stuff down at meaningful moments in our journey together. And that was one of them. So that's the thing. That's what really sticks out to me, is like when we hit major milestones on this, because it is a journey. And now where we're at today, it's great. I love talking about it. I love when we go to talk to people, and I will tell you 10 times out of 10, they're like, we've never seen this. This is amazing. And it comes from inspiration outside of auto. And I
Yeah.
think that's a learning for any business anywhere. And if Alex and I go into something non-auto in the future, we're going to be taking learnings from auto to that. You have to be open to hearing about other things and think about, hey, could we apply this here? That's what we did here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, perfect. I remember the moment, kind of in my kitchen, throwing up my hands. And
Yeah.
I was pretty excited to see that it actually came together and worked. And then when we statistically tested it, we're like, oh, wow, I think we're onto something here. And then anecdotally, we're on calls with clients, and it's like, yep, we've got it exactly pegged down, and we're able to kind of understand these ebbs and flows. And, when you look at these ratios that exist, and they're already in there, right? When we've obviously done a lot, right, of incorporating economic data, incorporating incentives and national holidays and all sorts of different things that you need to have in a machine learning model. But at the base level, there's some pretty good stuff in GA4 that you can use right now. You could go into your analytics property. You could look at your engagement dashboard. You could go to overview. You could look at your user stickiness, and you can start to understand what it means when you start to see these ebbs and flows in daily active users, weekly active users, monthly active users, dividing some of those ratios out, which it honestly, it does for you. And start to understand how this thing starts to go up and down, and how you can be a little bit smarter about how you go about planning your business, how you go about executing media. Hopefully agencies listening to this, they start figuring these things out, right? This is something where, I mean, you and I were like, oh my gosh, this is something so unique. It's proprietary. We've got to, but we've come to the conclusion. It's like, look, we need to share. We need to share this. We need to tell other people. We want people to come on and debate this with us, and talk to us of whether or not they think this is a good idea. We've got all the statistical proof behind it. We've got our math behind it, and we've built a lot around it. But yeah, very interesting to start to see that. And I was just talking about that, honestly, as far as GA4 and the heartburn. You remember the heartburn when we first came on. It was, I think I used a metaphor of like being stung by a bunch of hornets. It was just like one sting after another of different things that you had to hurdle. But I mean, look at the level of uncomfort that we had to go through as a company in order to grow. And if they didn't make the change from UA to GA4, I don't know if a lot of people would have actually taken the jump, got things into a data warehouse. And if you haven't, we'll give some insights into how to do that. But I mean, being able to predict business 90 days out based on a simple changeover from UA to GA4, getting that into a data warehouse, dicing it up, getting some of the machine learning aspects built, and starting to model, it's changed who we are as a company. I really hope that other folks get to experience something similar.
Yeah, it's changed how we think too. So not to continue to beat the drum on omnichannel, but to recognize trends and recognize things that you see in a sales cycle for a particular dealer in a particular market that's going to be totally different than the next guy you look at, and be able to kind of scale that across your business and know what that means and know what to do and how to use all these channels the right way at the right time. Forget creative, even just analytically. It's changed a lot. And most importantly, it's changed for the better. It's allowed us to make smart moves ahead of time, be predictive, and get better performance. Again, like that's why we're here.
Yeah.
We want dealers to be able to experience what we've been able to uncover and apply. Right? We're not doing all this because we're into doing math exercises or because we're statisticians. We're trying to take what knowledge we have and apply it to something that benefits our clients and ultimately benefits our business. But ultimately, it's what can you apply and get a result out of.
That's
That's
just
it.
And that's
we're
just
not
it. Just
using
don't make it a
overly
static
complex
thing, like
Yeah.
it's like, my gosh, do we not need, let's just add another dashboard that we can all look at and be like, oh, this is great data, but are we going to do something with it? Should we do something with it? I mean, I know you've got some memories on that, but I think both of our experiences in the past, I used to consult for some OEMs back in the day and spent a lot of time with dealerships. You've worked for an OEM, you've kind of seen all different sides of it. And it's just, there's so many static dashboards that exist. And that's why we had the conversation on CDPs. It's like, is this another thing where we're going to understand all this about customer segments? And then what are you going to do with it? Who's going to execute on it? How's it going to execute? Is it even the right time to execute? Are you looking at these ratios? Are you trying to predict your business over the next 30, 60, 90 days so you can figure out when the right time to strike is, how to spend that money, where to spend that money? So I hope a lot more people are having these conversations this year because, it's not the same. Things have changed. Things changed last year and it's dramatically changing this year, especially with the environment that we're in. So it should be interesting to see how this all shakes out.
Yeah. And I don't want to give the impression that we're doing this to try to, impress anyone or to create a bunch of data or reports that look good or prove something out from that standpoint. More isn't more. You know what I mean? And sometimes less is more, but ultimately it's just whatever it needs to be is what it is. We're trying to get the right amount of reporting. Unfortunately for us, we've got a huge reporting package because we've got, multiple channels, all funnels, all profit centers. Like, we got to be able to answer every question. And our clients get access to all that because some of them, they should be able to answer whatever question they have at any point in time. So they can go into that reporting packet and they can find whatever they want. Or
Yep.
we work with a lot of groups that have their own marketing department. So if they've got a QBR coming up and they want to prepare for that, they've got everything they need right there. We're totally transparent. That's important. And having access to all the data, it doesn't do any good if we compile all this, but we're the only ones that see it, or we have to translate it for them. So we're still trying to make it digestible, even though there's a lot there. So it's about what's enough. That's really the goal, to answer the question.
Yeah, and I know we can talk about this forever. I know we're running short on time. It's very simple, folks, to what David's saying, to what I've been saying, to what you're seeing in the industry now. If you're in GA4 and it's confusing, reach out to someone. There's a lot of people willing to help. Right? Not just us. There's a lot of companies out there willing to help. Get your data into a warehouse and do so fast. As an individual company or a business owner, it's not that expensive. Look into data connector. Supermetrics is a big one. Highly recommend that one. You don't have to be a data genius. They'll help you through it. You set up tables, you pipe that in, or do it directly through GA4 into BigQuery. Caution, caution, caution. It is a little bit difficult to sift through all that data. But now we're at 1.7 billion rows and we're analyzing that and it's growing daily. We couldn't have done that without the changeover. So reach out to us if you ever have any questions. This isn't a sales plug. We're here to genuinely help. We went through a lot of heartburn and pain to get to the point where we're at. We're very proud of where we're at. And we'll keep trying to provide as much value as humanly possible. Get into that engagement overview. Look at those ratios. Start to better understand your business long term. Any closing thoughts from you, Dave?
Yeah, and on top of all that, think about your end user. Think about, if you're the one that's receiving this, what are you going to try to do with it? What do you need to do to measure your business, and how does that need to look? So to Alex's point about the different tools we use, that's based on our end user. That's based on how do we get that information over to someone that they can use, that's easy to work with and digestible.
Well said.
That's it. And that's it.
That's it. Episode 2, GA4, Prophecy here. Signing off. Thanks all.
Thank you.